Hi friends, Krista here. Thank you so much for stopping by Books and Jams. It is time for another Vlogmas video. Today I'm going to be talking about anticipated reads for the first couple months of 2022. This year was the first year that I paid attention to what's coming out, and I really enjoyed each quarter going through and kind of looking at what's coming out and deciding which ones I'm the most excited for and making a list and checking it twice and trying to read a bunch of those anticipated new releases. And so I'm going to continue doing that for 2022. So today we're going to talk about January, February, and March, and I have 9 books to talk about. Last year I did 11 each quarter, and this year I'm trying to cap myself at 10 in the hopes that I can read all of them or most of them before the end of the year. So this time around I have 9, and actually none of them are middle grade. I was looking at middle grade lists and nothing jumped out at me. I'm sure that will change as we get going into the new year, but as of right now, I have 9 books, and about half of them are from authors that I've read before. So I'm really excited about some of these books, and I can't wait to share them with you. I do have my computer sitting here with all of the information, so if you see me looking to the side, that's what's going on. But I did put them in order of when they're being released. So first off, on January 4th, coming out is a YA collection of 10, I believe, short stories. It's called Serendipity, 10 Romantic Tropes Transformed. This is edited by Marissa Meyer, who I just love. She wrote the Lunar Chronicles. She wrote a bunch of other YA books. This book sounds really fun. It's going to take 10 popular YA tropes, or romance tropes, I think mostly, and turn them on their heads a little bit. So there's going to be like a secret admirer story, a fake relationship story, the matchmaker story. And so these authors are just going to take these tropes, embrace them, live in them, and sometimes turn them upside down and turn them on their heads. And I just think that that sounds really fun. Like, instead of hating on tropes, let's just embrace them and run with it. So that's what this book is going to be. Serendipity, 10 Romantic Tropes Transformed. That sounds so fun to me. The second book is by a beloved author of mine, Diane Chamberlain, and it is called The Last House on the Street. It comes out from St. Martin's Press on January 11th. I did not get approved for this on NetGalley. I'm so sad because I love Diane Chamberlain. So it's going on my wish list instead. And I do already have it on hold at the library. And we'll see how quick I was able to get on that list whenever they get it in. This one is a bit of a mystery or thriller almost. We follow 2 different women from 2 different times. Ellie, in the 1965 timeline, she is a young girl who doesn't want to kind of follow her parents' expected path for her life. Instead, she starts working with civil rights movements, and at that time in particular, she was working on helping Black people get the right to vote. And she just has a passion for working with marginalized people. And then in 2010, we follow an architect, Kayla, who is building a house in this same neighborhood where Ellie lived years before. And her husband dies in an accident while building the house. And then there's some creepy things going on and stories of the lake and the woods behind this neighborhood being haunted. And Ellie is an elderly woman now living in the neighborhood who has some dark secrets from her past. So it's about these 2 women. I'm sure their lives are going to intersect and their stories are going to intersect. And I really believe Diane Chamberlain is going to knock it out of the park, as she has in just about everything that I've read from her, which isn't much yet. She has quite a backlist that I need to dive into. The third book is totally different. It is a rom-com. It's called On a Night Like This by Lindsay Kelk. It comes out from Harper 360 on January 18th. And this book is a Cinderella retelling. I'm sold at Cinderella retelling. That's kind of a buzzword for me, I think. I just always want to read them. In this one, we follow Fran, who is an assistant to a famous singer. They go on this cruise on the Mediterranean, headed towards this island where every year there's this grand ball, the Crystal Ball. And of course, Fran ends up going to the ball, not sure how or why. She ends up going to the ball and meeting a man who belongs at the ball, and she doesn't really belong at the ball. She's just a lowly assistant. And of course, they're going to fall in love, but they come from 2 different worlds and 2 different backgrounds and probably 2 different places in the globe. So I just think that's going to be a cute story. Probably not going to blow my mind in any way, but it sounds really sweet. Then we have a book coming out from Ruta Sepetys, and I'm very excited. I have read all 4 of her books that have come out already, and she has a new one coming out in February on the 1st, and it is called I Must Betray You. Ruta Sepetys. What? I was sold at 1980s A young Romanian teen turns double agent against the communist dictatorship in Romania. I'm sold. I've never read anything about that time period, specifically in Romania, and about the communists and the Cold War time period. Like, I'm just really, really excited for that. I have been to Romania. That was one of the first places that I went to overseas on a missions trip, and saw, even decades later, the effect of communism in the country. Kids had grown up never knowing how to be creative or exploring with their creative side at all. They didn't know how to color or draw or use their imaginations very much. And that is all after effects, trickle down after effects of communist rule in that country. So I'm just really excited to read this one by Ruta Sepetys. I think she's going to do it really well. She does well at highlighting different aspects of history that I just don't know very much about, and I have really loved her writing, so I'm very excited for that. Then we have a sequel also coming out on February 1st, and it's Finley, Donovan Knocks 'Em Dead by Elle Cosimano. This year I read Finley, Donovan is Killing It, and it's a lighthearted murder mystery. It was kind of an unexpected hit for me. I just really loved it. Maybe it was the right book at the right time kind of a thing, but I laughed out loud. It's not like a deep, heavy murder mystery. It's a lot more fun than that. In the first book, Finley Donovan kind of accidentally becomes a hitman. And so this is the sequel to that first book. The friendship that's in the first book is going to be continued in the second one. I've heard there's going to be a couple new characters introduced. The mob is still going to be involved as it was in the first one. I'm just really excited for that sequel. It's going to be fun. The next book on my list is called The Bright Side Running Club. This one is by Josie Lloyd, and it comes out on February 8th. I have requested it on NetGalley. I have not heard yet if I've been approved or not. This one is more of a kind of women's fiction contemporary. It's about this woman who gets diagnosed with breast cancer, but she does not want the C word to be what controls her life and how everybody knows her. And she doesn't want to only have her support groups and all of these things focused on cancer. And so she joins this running club where I believe the 3 other women in the club also are dealing with cancer. And so they just we learn their stories and their struggles and their determination and their lives. We just learn a lot about them through this running club. I am someone who has been a runner in the past. I am not currently at all running. Couldn't run a half mile right now, but I have been in the past a runner, and I have family members who run, and it's been a big part of my life in the past. So I'm just excited about this and the friendship and the bond that's going to be built between these women who are dealing with some pretty heavy stuff in their lives. It feels like it's going to be really heartwarming. The next book is called Meet Me in the Margins by Melissa Ferguson. This one is published by Thomas Nelson, which is a Christian publishing house. It's coming out on February 15th. I've already been approved for it on NetGalley. And the short description of this one is You've Got Mail meets The Proposal. Done. That sounds amazing to me. Savannah is our main character in this one. She works at a publishing house, and her boss wants to see the manuscript that Savannah's been working on. However, her publishing house is not really known for publishing romance books, and that's what her manuscript is. So she keeps it hidden somewhere at work. I think they work in kind of an old Victorian building, and up in one of the attics or a hidey hole or something, she hides her manuscript there. But she goes to get it one day, and she sees that somebody else has read it and made notes in the margins, like edits and stuff. So she kind of begins this conversation in a way with this person who's reading her manuscript. She has no idea who it is. Of course, it's going to be some hot guy that also works at the publishing house, right? I'm assuming, because it is a romantic comedy. Yeah, and so that she just begins this dialogue, and I don't know what happens from there, but it sounds like a book that I'm going to read. Bookish book, romance, Christian fiction. I'm sold. The next 2 are definitely not in that vein. The next one is The Book of Cold Cases by Simone St. James. I have read Simone St. James' 2 most recent books, The Broken Girls and Sundown Motel, and absolutely loved them, even though they are not my typical read. Both of them are ghost stories, or have ghosts in them, I should say. And so this one might be the same. It comes out in March on the 15th. It is not on NetGalley at all. It's not there, so I will have to put it on hold at the library. But in this one, we follow a true crime blogger who interviews this eccentric old woman who was acquitted from 2 different cold cases. Like, back in the day, she was accused of these 2 murders, and this woman was acquitted from them, but she's pretty eccentric, and this blogger gets more than she was expecting, or more than she was looking for when she does this interview with her. So yikes, I'm very excited about another Simone St. James. I just think that her writing is fantastic. Yeah, she does a great job of revealing little by little as you're going, and you're kind of learning things as you go. And I just love her writing very much. And another author who is not afraid to go there is Kate Quinn. And she has another historical fiction coming out in March on the 29th, and it's called The Diamond Eye. And in this one, we follow the true story of Mila Pavlichenko. I probably said that wrong. But Mila was a librarian, and then during World War II, somehow got a job as a sniper. So she's a librarian turned sniper in World War II. What? What even is that? So I'm very excited to read this book by Kate Quinn, who also is, just not afraid to be bold and write women who are bold and daring. And she doesn't sugarcoat the war and what that sometimes forced people to do, or what people chose to do in a wartime, and the effects and the consequences of those decisions. So I'm really looking forward to that one as well. And that is it. Those are the 9 books that are coming out in January through March that I am the most excited for. There are probably others. I don't go through every single list of every single book that's being published. I just kind of look in a couple different places for those who are curious, because I always get this question. I do look on NetGalley. I look on Goodreads. I just Google books being released in January 2022. And I look through different bloggers and other people who have done some research. And I look around and I find books, and then I add them to my list. So those are 9 books I'm looking forward to. I would love to know if any of these piqued your interest. There's a little bit of a variety in here. I do not have any fantasy on here. Sometimes I try to have a fantasy as well, but on this list I don't. So this is more contemporary, some romances, and some historical fiction, which that's the mood I'm in apparently. So I would love to hear if you have any other anticipated reads that are coming out in January through March. In particular, if you have heard of any middle grade books that sound good to you, I would love to know that. And that is going to be it for today. I appreciate you so much for watching. I would love to chat with you down in the comments, and I will talk to you tomorrow in another Vlogmas video. Bye.